And today, the White House posted this photo on Flickr of President Obama talking to Louisiana fishermen on May 2nd when he first visited the Gulf. Yesterday, Louisiana Senator Mary Landrieu told reporters, "I just think that the president underestimated how important it is for the people to see his face and hear his voice. But he's getting that and understanding it and responding to the constructive criticism." Joining us now, Senator Mary Landrieu, live from Capitol Hill. You've been at it with the hearings today, and you've been at it down there, and I don't know how any of you are keeping up. You, of course, serve on the Energy and Natural Resources Committee. What have you learned today so far from the hearings about, first of all, the disconnect between what Interior Secretary Salazar reported was the expert's opinion on this moratorium on future drilling and what the experts were actually saying? Bring us up to date on that.
Well, Andrea, this is a very important point. And first of all, I have the deepest respect for Secretary Salazar, who finds himself in an extraordinarily difficult position. But the facts are these, that there were 15 experts that helped to provide that first 30-day report, and 8 of them on yesterday said that they disagreed with the Secretary and the administration's decision, although they helped to write the report. They disagreed with the blanket 6-month moratorium that's been set on deep water wells in the Gulf. And the reason is because they understand what I know and what many of us from the Gulf know is the economic impact, the devastating impacts that a 6-month minimum moratorium will have on our industries. Just in Louisiana alone, Andrea, and I don't have the Texas, Mississippi, or Alabama numbers, 330,000 people in our state, which isn't a big state, as you know, work directly with the oil and gas industry. Now, not every one of those jobs will be affected by the deep water moratoria, but I promise you there are hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs along the Gulf Coast, hundreds of businesses that really don't know if they're going to have a future or not. And that's one of the pending issues right now in Washington.
Now, what you were claiming is that Secretary Salazar either misunderstood, misstated the recommendation of the experts. This is what he had to say at the hearing today about the moratorium.
It was our view, it was the president's directive that we press the pause button. It's important for all of you on this committee to know that word. It's the pause button. It's not the stop button, but it's the pause button.
Now, just to walk it back a little bit, what the president has been saying, and it seems to make sense, and I know there's an economic impact, which I want you to address, is that if we are now learning there were safety procedures that were ignored by BP, that's what's being investigated, and if there are other procedures that need to be implemented to make sure nothing like this ever happens again, why not hit the pause button? Because you don't know what other rigs are out there that have not been properly inspected.
That is an excellent question, and I have agreed with Secretary Salazar and the President and many members of Congress on both sides of the aisle that a pause button is needed. It's just a question of the length of the pause that is an issue, and it's a very important issue. What I'm saying is there are hundreds of companies, Bollinger Shipyard, Edison Schwest, Acre, CC Industries. They're not oil companies, they're oil service companies, Andrea, and if that pause lasts longer than 30 days, 60 days, maybe 90 days, what happens is you put this industry at great peril because these rigs float. They can just as easily float off the shore of Africa, Brazil, as in the Gulf, and once they're gone, they may never come back, putting a tremendous number of jobs at risk. So I said today in the hearing, and I can back this up, if we don't handle this moratorium or pause carefully, in other words, it can't be too long, it's got to be a good look at safety, the economic injury to the Gulf could be worse from the moratoria than it is from the spill. And that's saying a lot because the spill has hurt us terribly, this uncontrolled flow. Our fishermen are out of work. The last thing we need to do, though, is and our tourism industry has been hurt, the last thing we need to do is put our oil and gas industry. So that's the point we're trying to make to the president. Yes, pause, but make it as short as necessary to get the job done. Let the deep water operators who have done good work in the past get back out there and create the jobs and give the oil the country needs to operate.
Senator, I take your point. I wanted to also share with you an interview that Meredith Vieira did with Doug Settles, the COO of BP, about whether or not there is a plume. We've all looked at the pictures. This is the way he described it at first before she challenged him on the Today program.
we haven't found any large concentrations of oil under the sea, and to my knowledge, no one has.
But he said there were no plumes under the sea, sir, and these scientists are confirming that there are plumes under the sea.
Well, Meredith, it may be down to how you define what a plume is here, but basically some people have asked is are there large concentrations of oil under the sea, and those have not been found so far by us or anyone else that's measuring this. The oil that has been found is in very minute quantities.
I mean, we're getting down to how do you define a plume? The definition of what is.
It's very discouraging, Andrea. Yeah, it's very discouraging. And the people of America look at that and scratch their head and wonder and get disgusted. The people in Louisiana are very disgusted along the Gulf Coast. BP has been very much off base in many of their communications. However, the point of this is that the federal government itself, along with state and local governments, have an obligation, but particularly the federal government, to have independent estimates of this, not just to rely on BP data. We are relying on BP to pay the bill, but we don't rely on BP necessarily to tell us how much oil is flowing, is there a plume or not. We're learning at the federal level. We need to do a better job on that, and I hope this administration is stepping it up. And BP needs to get this well shut down, and that's what they need to be focused on, paying their claims timely, which is another issue, Andrea. The question is, with this moratoria, is BP obligated to pay companies that are really unrelated directly to this particular incident, but will be affected greatly by this potentially 6 months moratoria? Is BP responsible to make that company whole, or is the federal government and the taxpayer responsible? So we've got a long way to go before this gets better, and I'll keep you posted.
Thank you so much. Open invitation anytime, Senator Mary Landrieu from Capitol Hill.